So at this point, we have pretty good progress. We have done some styling, and all that remains in the appearance section of the CSS is just this lower part. Now, regarding this image, it is actually not part of the CSS that it is being cut off. If you just zoom in right here, you can see a little cut off, and that's from the original image, uh, which I could not get my hand on the real original image. So I think no problem overall. Uh, it doesn't really matter at the moment. It's fine, so we can continue with it currently. But anything other than that, we can, I think, just continue with our regular development. So where should we continue? Here we have, first let me reset our live server since it already have closed before. It has closed before, so yeah. Great. So let's see. So next up, I think we could go to this area right here, and I think we can just go there. Let's just close these off. And under result displayed, and I'm gonna go inside of the index.html here. And here under the displayed results, you can see under the image we have this piece of text. I'm gonna call this uh, results info. Let me just select this, and let's go to the under the appearance. I think it is the result display here, and we can go up here and let's just paste it here. And now in regards to this, what type of fonts should we use? So it is just 32 pixels. So this should be, let's go to the font variables first. This should be in between the medium and the extra large. So I'm gonna go font size large here, or medium large. Yeah, I'm just gonna go maybe just large. Font size large. And we can say here, in this case, let's open up our calculator because we need to define 32 pixels in terms of RAM. So 32 divided by 12, that is 2.67 here. So 2.7 RAMs. And here on the smaller screen sizes, we have discussed about this previously. On the smaller screen sizes, I want this to be 24. So I think 24 is just too red here. Okay, so we're just gonna apply for this font size. It's gonna be var fs extra large. No, it's actually large. And actually here we want to make fonts family var. Actually, something I forgot here in the main parts. We don't want to have font family be was new. We want to say var font family header. And we want to do the same thing here, var font family header. And remember, we have the font family header from here. So now if we return to our page, it should load in a moment. And here is what we have, which is great. So now at this point, we want to do some tweaking again. We want to make the dates pink and the other text teal. So let's just go back here into the HTML. And let's go here into the dates, and we can do span here, class teal. And we can just cut this part from here and just paste it here. And again, cut this part here. And I think, yeah, so we can select everything here. Make this pink. cut this and fully surround this. Okay, so now we can do the same thing pretty much. We can say dot results info.teal and say color var CLR teal 500. And like this is the same code pretty much, repeated a couple of times. In reality, I think it would be better if we have like a separate utility class for these colors. But for now, I'm just gonna leave it like this, and I'm gonna leave some of the optimization here for you to do. So yeah, just create a utility class and apply it for all of these colors just to make it work without repeating these codes so many times. Okay, so now if we just go back here, you can see our code looks perfect like this. Okay. Also, we have this container here, which is of the gray 200 color, and it's 1/8. So let's just make that work here. So for the result display, I'm just gonna have a class called result display, and background color should be var gray. I believe it was 100. CLR gray 200, I think. So now let's go back to the colors. Now let's duplicate this. Now the 200, I believe it was here 1/8. So we're just going to change this from 1/1. So 1/8, 1/8, and 1/8. Great. So now we have this result display class and we have to apply it somewhere. Now you can see something here. You can see that this image and this text here should belong in the result display. So I'm just going to select everything here, Control Shift and P, and here I'm going to use the image wrap with abbreviation here. So I'm going to click on it, and now I can just say dot and just paste in result display. What this will do is basically just take this part and wrap it in a div called result display with a class of result display. So you can do it manually if you don't understand this, but learning to use some VS Code shortcuts is a very helpful thing. Yeah, so now if we go back here, you have this color here, which is a bit different, which is what we want. Very nice. One thing here is we also have a gray 300 stroke, and it is 2D. So we just have to apply that as well. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to here I'm just going to go under the appearance, result display, and I'm just going to say border. So it should be just 1 pixel, solid, and var CLR gray 300. And we should set this color here under colors. Let's add this. I'm just going to duplicate this. And instead of 200, it should be 300. And instead of 1/8, it should be 2D, 2D, and 2D. And now if we save and go back, here you can see just a subtle line moving across it. And it should have a corner radius of 8 pixels. So let's also apply this here, border radius of 8 pixels, right? So 8 pixels. Border radius, I forgot R here. And you should see the corners just turn around here, which is exactly what we want. So now we won't be working on the layout just yet. We're just going to be working on the elements themselves, right? And we're not going to be working on the spacing and the padding just yet as well. Now, before we move on to this part, which is, to be honest with you, a bit more complicated, so I'm going to do it last. Let's work on this image. Now, the only thing I want to change about this image in the main section here, and here let's just call this class home accents img. Let's just copy this and go back to the main here. The only thing I want to do here is just do, first of all, I need a reset here. This reset will do with images. So image or img, I'm just going to say img here. CSS will understand it. And I want to say display block. Not only display block, but max width should be 100%. Now, even though we did that, I want to go back here and just say width should be 100%, not max width, but the default width should just be 100%. Great. And you can see now there isn't any more overflow around here. One thing that should be fixed though, here is some sort of there is some sort of cutting here happening at the edges, which is something we don't really want. So I am just going to go to the resets, and that is happening because of some external extra properties on the margins. So I'm going to do this. I'm going to say body h1, h2, h3, h4, h5, h6, and paragraphs. I'm going to select all of them and apply margin 0. Now, this should greatly change our website. You can see so much has changed by just adding that one additional line there. Now, everything seems to be working quite nicely. There is some sort of distortion here, but it doesn't look too bad. It actually adds to the style. And here, if we just go in and check out what the distortion is actually, maybe there is something with the overflow visible. It's probably nothing really. It's just some rendering. It might work best on other websites. You can see UI the way. One thing I did not mention. Did I mention it? I'm not sure actually. If you go to the assets folder, let's just remove some of these for now. If you go to the assets folder, then to accents here, and if you open up your images, you can actually let them load and see that your images are how they're supposed to be. And you can see on closer inspection, they are a bit distorted at the edges. And that's, I think in that case, it's better to use a PNG. So let's actually do that, I think. So here, what we're going to do is not just use a PNG, but let's just select this part, right? So from this part, change this to PNG for the export and just export it. And here, I'm going to go one out and go to the accent, home accent. And say home accent.png. And here, let's go back to the HTML page and just change this from home accent.svg to PNG. And now if we go back here, now you can see that this is working much nicely here with no much distortion. Even if you decrease the size, here you can see it is working. It's working well. Obviously, there's some cutoff here, which will be fixing when the time comes for some layouts problems to be fixed. But for now, just you can ignore this. You can totally ignore this. We're going to be fixing that in later videos. Okay, now let's start working actually on the hardest part here, which is actually the inputs, right? So before we move on to the hard parts, let's actually just remove this first of all. Yeah, let's just remove this. Also, let's go to the appearance, and I'm just going to create a new file for this. I'm just going to say form.css, since it's a form, and I'm just going to start by styling out the button here. So I'm just going to call this class primary button. We can call it, I'm going to call this class form. And I'm going to call this CTA, or call to action. And here I'm just going to call .form.cta, and I'm just going to change some properties. First of all, the font size should be var fs medium, just medium. Font weight should be 600, which is semi-bold. Follow that by having a background color to be pink, or just var CLR pink 500. And if we just do that and go here, you can see there would be some changes. We did not apply it. Okay, we have to apply this here. And add imports form.css. Okay. Now some changes should apply here, but you can see it doesn't look quite good, and that's because we need additional resets for the button. And I'm gonna go for button inputs, and yeah, for buttons and inputs, let's just go for buttons for now. We want to have, first of all, font inherit. Okay, let's do this for button inputs and select also option. Font inherit, we don't want any borders initially, border none. And yeah, what other reset do we need? We need cursor to be pointer, cursor, pointer. And these are just basic resets here. If we go back, now you can see the font has changed, and everything is looking much nicer. But I don't think the font here is changed quite yet here for some reason. Okay, it is actually changed. Okay, so what do we do next? I want to go back to the form here and change the button's padding. Just make it look right. Padding, I'm going to do it 1 rem and 2 rem. So, sorry, 16 pixels from top and down and 32 pixels from the left and the right. Great. Then I need actually to make this a bit smaller. I'm gonna go 12 by 28. Then I'm gonna do here, I'm just gonna go a bit down and I'm just gonna make it rounded for the radius. And I'm gonna go 999 rems here. That just creates a very large number. Or you can do the same thing. You could say 9999 pixels, right? So this just makes it completely rounded. Okay, this is exactly what we want. Next up here, we should be working with these guys. And this might be a bit complicated. So just stay with me. We have to apply some CSS rule sets and resets. Okay, what resets do we need? I'm just going to write them out here. First of all, inputs. type equals number. This is the attribute selector in CSS where we are selecting inputs of type number. And I'm just going to say WebKit inner spin button here. And I'm just going to make this display none. You don't have to know all of this syntax, just know, for now at least, just know that this just removes this additional up and down arrow that was here previously. Next up, let's go to the select here, select, and we want to say appearance, and we're going to say base select. Now, what does this do? If you go back here, I see the select. Now, it doesn't have its own separate appearance. Its speaker already, it does have, the speaker doesn't change, but the select input container at least doesn't. So we want to say picker here, and just going to say select. So the picker for the select here, we're just selecting that and saying appearance again, base select, meaning no additional styling again. And we're going to say border, none, and we gotta continue here. So now no borders at all. One thing here we want to add is we want to say margin top. I always like to have a bit of a margin here. So I'm just going to say 16 or maybe around 16 pixels margin top. So let's go here and maybe 16 pixels a bit too much. Let's go 8 pixels and call it here. Yeah, okay, perfect. So 8 pixels. Next up here, we want to go down one more and select picker icon. That's the check mark that occurs when you select an option here. We want to say none for this. So now you can see there is a check mark, but if we now go back and save this check mark no longer should be visible. Okay. Okay, no, that's the picker icon. The picker icon is the one that was here before. That have disappeared. And option, just go to the options separately. And we want to say option check mark display none. So these are all the resets we're going to be needing here. Now the check mark does not exist. So we have all these resets and we can now just do whatever we want and style them however we want. And from this point on, it shouldn't be too difficult. We just have to match it with our design. And here, let's go back. And let's go here. And let's start from the input here. I'm going to say class number input. And here, we're just going to say dot form dot number inputs. Okay, if I can type. Now, let's see. We need it to have the same look as this one. And we need it to have some padding here to look the way it should look. So 32 by 16 padding. Great, so let's just do that here. Let's start by saying background color var CLR grade 200 and border 1 pixel solid var CLR grade 300 border radius 999 9 pixels. What else? Padding here should be so from the top and bottom 16 pixels, 2 pixels from the right and left. Also, we did not apply the proper padding for this one, so let's just go back into the main, I think, or into the result display. And for the result display, I'm gonna apply some padding here. Padding, I'm gonna say 32 pixels. And you can see now this is proper in terms of the way it should be. Now something that should change here is it should have an inherited color. So what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go to the resets, and I'm just gonna say here for these guys, I'm gonna say color inherits. So now this color also changes, which we don't want. So let's go back to the font, and we want to say here for the call to action color, and this should be var TLR black, and this should be very simple. Let's just go to the color variables and add it here. As we have whites, we should also have pure black here, so 0000000. Okay, great. So now it is working. So you can see, obviously, if we do something like this, it doesn't work. It should be, it couldn't be more than 31. So now one thing remains for the color input. You just have to say display grid and place content center. Now this basically makes its content centered, which is not working. Maybe I think the best way of doing this would be to say text line center. Also, we need to apply font size to it. And I believe here, if we go in deep, that font size is the small one. So I'm just going to say var fs small. Okay, so it is centered and it is completely working fine here. Again, so now it is very simple. We just have to copy this and go down and apply it here as well. Great, so we have both of our numbers ready here. And this select, I think, is a bit complicated to do in one video. So I think it's better if we do it in the next video here, but we can start on it. We can start on it in the next video, and I think we can finish the appearance section completely next time. Then we can move on to the layouts and positioning of each element. And you can see our our page is coming along quite nicely. And undoubtedly, I think the CSS would be the hardest part to understand throughout this course. Once we get to JavaScript, I think it would be much easier for you to understand, since we already covered so many like coding principles like modularity and separating your code, which is the same thing actually, and resets and stuff like that. So I don't think it would be much harder for you. Yeah, so next time we're going to be finishing off the appearance section here with creating the selector. Also, here also, before we finish off, let's go back and add this these changes to GitHub. So I'm just gonna say git add all git commit to the message set up more CSS styling. Okay, set up more styling and git push. Okay, so not the best description of a name of a commit, to be honest with you. But thanks for watching. Next time we'll continue more with the CSS appearance settings. And yeah, till next time, goodbye.